Hey guys, Julian here. Wanted to give everyone a recap of my man cave program. I know that I've talked about it here and there in some other videos and posts, but this is the conclusion, and just wanted to give a recap of what I learned and what I was like going in and how I came out the other side. At the start of the program, I was really aimless in my life, and I had a lot of questions and issues around masculinity and what that really meant in modern world. I was kind, sensitive, compassionate, some of those great qualities. But on the other side, I wasn't really achieving much. I wasn't getting what I want. I didn't feel really like confident or upright. And this program really helped me. Some other things that were going on in my brain, I was really questioning what gender really was. Was it a social construct? Is it not? It was an exploration for me, and it's something that's really up for a lot of people right now. So I was able to tap into what other people are feeling. And it wasn't so much for me questioning my sexuality as much as it was my identity. I just didn't feel like I fit the box of like your typical macho man or what we think of in a traditional way. So I was striving to find different examples of empowered men, but who also are spiritual. And there are some examples, but I just had not found like a message or a man or a teaching that really spoke to who I was. So I was really just clueless and and struggling. Also struggling with other issues as well, just lack of purpose in career and things like that. So that brings me to about a couple weeks before Man Cave. Through some of Matt Kahn's teaching, I've made a blog post. You guys can read it or not. And I went into healing the masculine shadow, and I sort of explored some of my past, and it really felt freeing because sometimes we hold things in and we don't even think we're holding it in, but when it wants to be released and we don't, it really keeps us where we are. So I made the choice to put it out there, to share, because I felt like I had been through a lot, and even though I don't have all the answers, I have some answers, and by me not sharing and writing or making videos or whatever, I'm really kind of holding that medicine back, and that's really not helpful. So I made this post, I felt freed, I felt empowered for the first time in a long time, and then I just stumbled across this program this guy Preston Smiles runs. It's called Mancave. I was like, And I read it. It sounded cool. Sounded good. I applied. I got in. But I was really skeptical of what it was going to be. And immediately when I joined, I'm clicking on all the other guys' face. It's an online program. And I'm clicking on all these guys' faces, and I'm just like, they're coaches and the personal trainers. And I'm like, this is exactly what I didn't want. This is the typical man sort of bullshit. Most of those doubts were right at the beginning before we really like got started. We were just kind of like meeting each other and introducing ourselves and stuff like that. And then we had our first like group call. And I'm not going to get too deep into like the specifics of it. You'll have to join and figure out for yourself if you really want to. That wall that men have between their emotions, between like showing their like true, authentic, like raw, like messy side. Like we broke down that wall, like boom, like in the first 20 minutes. And I had never seen that in my life, let alone strangers and myself. Like everyone was crying. It was awesome. And I was like, okay, like this is the real deal. This isn't some macho stuff, all these other judgments I had. Like this is exactly what I was looking for, like a way to express anything. The things we were sharing were just very vulnerable, and it was just really nice to see in a way that I wasn't alone in all these thoughts. Like, oh, I thought I was not a macho man and everyone else was. It's like, no, everyone is having these same doubts because these boxes are really, but they're bullshit boxes and they're not even real. So just seeing that all these guys who are whatever more muscular have wives and kids and all this stuff, but they have the same issues as me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, let me learn from some of them. And yeah, the program was great. I mean, there was the content, like working through various, like, I'd call them journaling or like self-exploration, diving into our childhoods, our parents' childhoods, how they parented us, our grandparents, sort of ways to, because that's how we were, the programming we received. And to become conscious of that, you really need to go back in your memories and see, why am I like this now? Does it stem from how, whatever, something a coach said to me, something a teacher said to me? There's all these little things that we're not always aware of, but when you go into it and look, it can be really helpful. But some of that stuff you could do on your own, but the power of the Man Cave was, it's a group setting, like everyone's going through it and sharing what's coming up for them, and you have people supporting you. There's all these coaches. We break down into smaller groups, and we're talking every week. We're setting goals for ourselves. But when you just set a goal for yourself, it's really hard to stay accountable. It's a lot better when someone's gonna say, hey, did you do that thing you said you were gonna do? And then you're like, you could say no, and it's all good. No one's gonna hurt you. But it's sort of like a team. You know, you don't want to be the weak link. You want to crush your goals to shed a shining example for your friends, so they can reach their goals. You want to be like, geese fly in the V. So the reason they do that is because the ones at the front create like a wind stream and help out the ones in the back. So if you have the ability, you're not suffering, you have nothing acute going wrong in your life, like, why not be the lead one? Why not flap as hard as you can? So it's just sort of creates this like non-competitive team. Like, there was no trophy for the best whoever. We weren't competing against other man caves, but there was this sort of healthy competition, or just healthy, like, you want to see everyone else get better, and one of the best ways to do that is to better yourself, so you're able to give more support. And I think women do a much better job at getting support from their friends than men do. So that was my big thing. And I previously did kind of get support. I wouldn't have said, oh, I have friends, whatever. But the conversations were always really shallow, or they were just not at the same level. And already most of my friendships have transformed already. Like, I just ask different questions, and I just respond differently to the things I say. And they've responded, and I think they love it too. We all wanted it. It's just like, who's gonna make that first awkward step at asking a vulnerable question or stating something vulnerable. It really helped me gain confidence in who I am, and then everything else is flowing out of that. So life purpose, direction, career. It's not like, oh, I got it, and then you just write it down and it's like, cool. It's always a process. It's a continuum, but I just feel so much better at the end. And people come up to me and say that I sound better and look better. I'm like, oh, awesome. It's always nice to get that validation after you give it to yourself internally, and then it will come externally, and it'll feel great. It's just like an extra bonus gift. But for most of my life, I was waiting for that external validation, because that was gonna like really meant that I made it, but it's really not. So one of the big questions I had going in, I talked about at the start, was, gender. Where do I fit in? What do I call myself in it? It was so weird that after like 2 weeks, that question just disappeared from my mind. It was like, because I got to the conclusion right before it started that there's no such thing as gender, and now I'm in training to be a conscious man. And it seems like a paradox, but it's really not, because once you're like this strong, empowered man, you realize it doesn't matter what your sexual preference is, or really anything. Like, any questions you had about be gentle or what, all this stuff, it just sort of disappeared, because I just had the confidence that it doesn't even matter, and I don't even care. And I feel like that's what being like confident is. It's like, I don't need to analyze things. just live it. I want to talk about some of the things I'm doing differently now that the Man Cave is over, because it's easy to talk about that changes. I just want to note some like actual physical examples. So one of the easiest things to notice is my hair. I didn't quite shave it, but it is a lot shorter than I've ever had in my life, and it's cool. Like, hair was always like a big issue, like trying to hide being balding, and everyone's kind of going through hair issues. Not everyone, but many people are. So it was sort of freeing to just like shave it off. And it kind of goes along with the other thing, is like, it doesn't really matter how it looks, it's how I feel. And I haven't looked back or really questioned it. The first week was a little awkward, but after that, it's just either own it or it owns you. And that's the change you make internally through meditation and positive affirmations and getting support. So I owned it, and now I feel great, and I don't worry about what it looks like at all. I had given one Toastmaster speech in like the year and a half prior. I've now made 3. I wrote and publicly performed my first poetry, which is also on my YouTube. I've got more poetry on the way. I've stepped up for other people in ways that I hadn't before. Like, I just realized that service is like my main asset and key. And I always just think of service being like literally feeding homeless people. Like that's like my only reference point. Like, oh, I need to help the world, I gotta go feed homeless people. And there's nothing wrong with that, I've done that. But I just realized that a lot of my wisdom, I need to share it via words and like via relationships, which goes into some of my goals for the upcoming year, which are things like having a coaching business, life coaching, personal growth programs, workshops on masculinity, what it means to be a conscious man, all the things I've accumulated throughout the years. I'll let you guys I'll let the actions speak for themselves. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I have all these goals now, and I still need to go out there and like I need to go out there and do them, but just to have them is like, that's just a big sigh of relief, because for so long I didn't have any goals. I also stopped drinking. That was about a month before Man Cave started, but I continued that, and it's really not been an issue. I stopped smoking. We did a no masturbation 40-day challenge. I did that. I've just conquered all these other sort of internal blockages that I've had. Also, when I started the program, I was working in a job that I really hated, and then I moved to a job that sounded a little bit better on the surface. It was working with plants, and I sort of was convincing myself that it was going to be a lot better, and it wasn't. So I also left that job, and now I sort of manifested this sort of freelance lifestyle that I am still working, but I found just side work to pay the bills, and now I'm able to create freely and really be happy and have space and room to travel and explore. So that's probably been the biggest change. Like, it's funny because I didn't even think of that first. There's so many changes that I made through these 4 months that are so fundamental that sometimes I look back and I'm like, wait, what's different from me now and then? It's like, it takes me talking about it to really see it. I was talking with a friend, fellow YouTuber, Bridget Nielsen. She was saying how when we create, we actually get to see ourselves. Sometimes we think, oh, artists are trying to share their message, but they're not. They're getting their message through their sharing, which is like a really cool way to look at it, because art is alive and it's raw, and it's like how we heal. And art is such a general statement. Like, I posted something about art just recently. So I'd say through this Mancave program, I also discovered my artistic side, because I've discovered the confidence to really do whatever I want. And if I want to make art, then I can make art. I can't be more grateful for Preston and Jetty and Gid. Those are my more direct coaches, but there's a bunch of other coaches in there. Check the description for more details about the program. We've also had this, I'd call it like a Man Cave Light. It's called The Pack. It's a Facebook group. It's free. It's not as intensive, but you're getting access to what I'm talking about in just a, less personalized manner to you. But it's definitely, you're allowed to share whatever you want and get advice, or not get advice. You can use the space as you want. So let me know about that. I'm also getting ready to launch my coaching program, which is really sort of a vague area, but I'm using it as a way to connect one-on-one with people and talk them through issues and set them up to succeed. Just like coaches have helped me, I'm now passing it forward. If you're struggling with anything I've talked about, like, feel free to message me. I'm happy to talk, give advice, give support, just listen if that's what you need or want. Really, whatever. I have like all these resources and things in my brain, and I'm happy to like share them and just sort of suggest things, because that was a huge part of it for me. I wouldn't have known about Mancave if I didn't listen to podcasts and talk to friends and sort of just like build my network of conscious people, of people in personal growth, people in the work, we call it, people who are bettering themselves. Like, I just immersed myself in that program and just kept asking questions and did free calls with people just like me who are talking about some things similar, and they would support me a little bit, and then eventually I sort of hatched, and now I'm here. Peace, guys. Thanks for listening. Look out for some more videos.